tell us about the trials, man.
Yeah.
Let's go. You just.
So I would
Just
say
go into whatever you want to go here.
I would say the trials actually began in 2009 because I remember I got handed my first litigation case. I'm a baby attorney.
So I litigate people all the time, as we know. So can you explain to the folks what litigation?
You do, and
there's a lot of people that don't understand what litigation is, even though I do.
Yeah.
Even though I really don't.
Yeah.
But one of the early on, as a private joke, I would tell Mike, "Yeah, man," because me and Michael began to get, we became friendly and started communicating more and more. And I'd be like, yeah, I'm going to start litigating people. And I had no idea what litigation meant, honestly. And he would just like laugh, show a lot of patience, and just kind of let me say it over and over again. But if you don't mind sharing what litigation is.
Like, I love when Rob says that because it reminds me of my sister when she says, don't violence your brother to like one of her kids. I was like, it's not, and she's like, what? I'm like, nothing. But in any event, so as a litigator, what I basically do is I resolve conflicts, right? It starts from just starting with hello, right? And trying to get people to talk to each other, to resolve their disputes.
Is it kind of mediation related
It can be. Mediation is one step in the process, potentially. You can act as a mediator between two people, like almost like a referee, but mediation is a particular part of the litigation process. But it's just conflict and dispute resolution. If you can't resolve it with just a straight up business solution, which is what the ideal is, then you got to start holding people to agreements. And that's when you get your contractual or your corporate solution, which is, hey, you signed this agreement. This agreement says you're going to do X. We just want you to do X. That's it. So
Mike, entrepreneurs, they should have agreements, right?
100%.
With all the people that work with them, why they chose them to work there and all that other stuff. Is that fair?
The reality is for entrepreneurs is that they always think, hey, I'll always fall back on litigation, right? If I have to, I'll use the court system to enforce things. But the reality is a litigation solution is probably your worst solution. It's like it's your solution of last resort. Every time you enter into an agreement with someone, you want to have a business solution, meaning this is what's best for you, this is what's best for me, and let's do what's best, period, what's optimal for both of us. After you have your business solution, then you want to have your corporate or contractual solution, right? The minute you create an organizational structure, there's default rules, but you want to move beyond default and you want to have clear agreements as what you do, because if you don't have clear agreements, then you have disagreement. When you have disagreement, you have conflict. When you have conflict, you have problems.
So listen, take that, rewind it back, write notes, and then ask questions in the comments below. If any of this stuff resonates, if there's anything that you want to share on this, if you're like, hey, can I get Michael's direct number? Whatever you want, you should listen to what he just said as a business owner. We're in a recession right now. Once the money gets choppy, people get what I like to call fake confusion, and you need the right kind of people around you to help you make decisions, especially if you've been had. So understand what he just said was so powerful. And I'm the kind of guy that has to like listen to it, write it, listen to it, write it, listen to it, write it, and then look it up a little bit. That's how I understand things, but you just got some nuggets that are very powerful. Thank you, brother.
Yeah, you're welcome. So you have your business solution, you have your corporate contractual solution, and then when all things go wrong, you have your rocket launcher, right? Your litigation solution. And your litigation solution is the actual potential use of the courts or arbitration or that kind of process in order to get people to do what they need to do, either based on what the contract or the corporate guidelines say, or through what the law requires. There's things like fiduciary obligations that co-owners owe to the business and potentially to each other. There's implied contracts or oral contracts that you agree to follow, and you can have courts in position to enforce those things. So you have your three solutions, and always look at your three solutions: your business solution, your corporate contractual solution, and your litigation solution. And that's how you resolve conflict. First with a business solution, second with a contractual or corporate solution, and your third is your issue of last resort. That's where I come in, your litigation solution.
Amazing. Thank you for that. So that led you on the path of 2009, which is where we're at with one of the lawsuits. I don't know which one it was.
So I get handed this thing, right? Yeah. And it's this dispute, right, between a insurance company and a doctor. And the insurance company says, hey, we're going to pay you $97,000 if you agree to take a discount on this. It was a complicated procedure. Our doctor signed off on it. Sounds good. The whole 9 yards. The insurance company doesn't pay. So I get handed this thing, and they're like, let's go enforce it. So I call the attorney on the other side. They tell me to go scratch. Okay, right? Corporate contractual solution, done. Business solution, done. Time for litigation.
Litigate.
So I file a complaint against this guy, and he is
The attorney or the...
against the insurance company.
Got it.
And they put this attorney on it. And at the time, this was the most aggressive person I've ever encountered. So bringing me back to my heydays of growing up inside the projects,
Got it.
where a guy will just punch you in the head just because that's who this person was to me. That's who he symbolized. That's what the personification was. And I struggled with it, right? Because I had never known this type of battle. I knew
in law.
That's right.
Yeah.
I knew the punch you in the head, beat you up on the streets.
Yeah.
I didn't know the I'm going to kick your butt up and down the courtroom.
Yeah.
And I'm like I said, a junior associate at this point in time. And I look to my law partner, Sean Callagy, and I go, Sean, you got to handle this.
Oh, no.
And that is the exact reaction.
No. Mofo, no.
And what a gift it was.
Yes, it was.
Because
He made me do that with Crohn's, the original deal.
That's right.
I had to write the whole thing up.
That's
Never
right.
did that in my life.
And so what he said to me was, he gave me the tools to deal with an aggressive adversary.
And was it like a great set of tools?
Listen,
Was it like some ninja, like the guy you just spun him around real quick once you adopted?
no, it's if he slaps you, punch him.
Harder.
If he punches you, kick him. if he pulls a knife, you pull a gun. If he pulls out a rocket launcher, you pull out a nuke. And he's like, and do not back down, because if that's the way he's communicating with you, all bets are off. He has stepped onto the field with you.
Yep.
He is now an enemy combatant.
I agree.
Right? This is not.
I agree. That's called match plus.
That's right. And we now
Match
know
plus.
that to be the case, right? But what he basically said to me at that point in time is, he goes, listen, the gloves are off at that point in time. Be nice until it's time not to be nice. But the minute they start to act unreasonably and step out of line, it's your job to put them back into place, because there are no rules with regard to this. And I'm like, this is not something I know of. I know file a motion. I know ask for a judge. I don't know how to weaponize and mobilize influence to make people do things.
Weaponize and mobilize influence to make people do. Weaponize, mobilize influence to make people do things.
That's right.
Let that, just listen.
Yep.
Take notes, say it in the mirror. This stuff gets in your nervous system, things change.
That's right.
For the better.
And so he gave me that one tool, and I get on the phone with this guy the next time, and he does his thing. He slaps me.
You were ready for the punch.
I punch him.
Yep.
He kicked me.
Yep.
I kicked him twice.
Yep.
He pulled a knife. I pulled a gun. He pulled out a bazooka. I pulled out a nuke.
Yep.
And by the time we were done with that conversation, we had settled the case for, I think the claim was for $98,000. We settled it for $93,000.
Wow.
So it was almost like a full 100%
Wow.
resolution on it, and avoided litigation.
By the way, that same guy who doesn't know you meet today, how quick do you get to that resolution?
Instantaneously.
Yeah. Like it's like,
I would look back at what he did, and today I would laugh at it, because I have challenged my comfort zones so many times and pushed back the person who I was back then that I don't even recognize that guy anymore. And you have to do that, as hard as it is, as challenging as it is, as much pain as it causes, because if you stop doing the hard things, it doesn't make them easy. It makes the easy things hard to do. And so challenging your comfort zones and pushing past it makes those hard things easy in retrospect. And so today, the person who I am, my God, that would be over in a millisecond. Like there would just be shutdown, pattern disruption, Zeus energy, lightning bolts, the whole 9 yards. All the tools that I now have that were given to me by Sean through the Callagy success formula, which is now referred to as the Unblinded formula. Without that, I'm not able to resolve that case. Today, that's not even a thing.
yeah, you said some really, really good things there, and it's talking about challenging yourself.
That's right.
Even and a guy that has a team that works underneath or with, you have to challenge them as well. It's no
That's
different
right.
if I'm challenging Danny and Parker, if I'm challenging Eddie, or if I'm challenging DJ.
Yeah.
Because when they learn how to overcome those things in the middle of all the abundance that they have right now, they become better at what they do.
And I will say this, I noticed that.
Yeah, you just made me think about that.
I noticed that about your team, and normally I wouldn't address them, but some of them are here now.
Yep.
Like, this is a fantastic team.
Thank you.
They're fantastic because they're good people.
Yes.
But you made them be fantastic
Yes.
too. And
Yes.
so when you confront your teammates at the highest level, you're showing them the highest level of caring.
Yes.
Because if you didn't care about them, you wouldn't confront them, they'd be out the door.
Exactly.
It's the challenge, the confront, the pushing them past their comfort zones to develop the skill sets to become better than they are tomorrow, like than they were today, that makes them as great as they are.
Yes.
And that's on you.
Yeah.
And I see that about your team.
Yeah, and the thing is, because what happens with success, it could be in power, but it could also be monetary, it could be both. And if somebody's not ready for monetary success,
Oh, yeah.
you know, what happens is they begin to make decisions that are suboptimal, that are, you know, let me be late, or, you know, let me not do this, or let me half-ass that.
That's right.
And all of a sudden, you just find yourself in a situation where, how'd I get here? You know, so it's about
Folks,
consistent.
write that down.
Yeah.
Write
Yeah.
that down. That is absolute fact.
Take that shit and rewind it back, write it, rewind it, listen to it, say it again, and then call us. Anyway, link below if you have any other questions about some of the stuff that we're talking about. This will be broken up into different parts. You'll hear it on, you'll see it on YouTube, but it'll be clipped up on different channels, and as well as it's going to be on the podcast. So you got the 97 Gs.
That's
or
right.
93 Gs.
That's right. But it
That was
wasn't
part of a bigger case.
that was part of a bigger
Doctor,
thing.
got it.
Right?
Yep.
Because without that introduction,
You
that
needed
was,
that success.
that was my introduction to
Yeah,
influence.
but you needed that.
Right?
That doesn't happen. You don't know how to run that play.
Right.
You don't know how to get that first down.
And so I say to Sean, I go, whoa,
Now you
I thi-
discovered something?
I just discovered something.
Okay,
So
interesting. I
so
love
the
this.
so the magician, right? Because that's what I used to refer to Sean as, the magician, right? I used to, whenever you needed something done, you go to the magician, he sprinkles magic dust on it, and it all went.
That was your perception then
That was
before you
my-
realized it was scientific.
Because he was magic. Not
Yeah.
only was he quasi-mythological before I met him, he was also magical after I met him. And I'm like, this is a reputation that is
Oh my
well
God.
deserved.
He's going to sit down like at 3 o'clock one night and just listen to this and smile for 3 hours. Go
Listen,
ahead.
so this is reality, right?
Yeah.
That interaction showed me something.
Yeah.
I had discovered the magician's trick,
Yep.
right? So I go, whoa.
That was
That
Match
worked.
Plus? Is that
Well-
the trick? Or is it more?
Well, Match Plus was the introduction to it.
Got it.
But I began to recognize
Oh, you didn't know the
something.
formula yet?
I did not know the formula.
Oh,
I didn't even
okay.
know that there was a formula.
Got it.
Because when I joined the
Got
firm in
it.
2009, he had already successfully started, launched, and exited his
shut
first
down the
law
coaching.
firm.
Got it.
And then he went to do coaching, and he was teaching the success formula. He had never introduced me to the concept of the success formula until he did that thing. This is really early on. This is maybe like 60 days into my time with Callagy Law. And I went to him and I said, whoa. I was like, I thought I was being cute. And I said, I discovered your trick. And he goes, oh? And I go, I've seen you do that before. And now I know how you did it. And if anybody knows a magician, when you reveal his trick, normally they get pissed off.
Yeah.
He did not get upset. He lit up because without even telling me that there was a formula in order to influence people, I had stumbled onto it.
You
I had
showed him that you were
discovered it.
paying attention, though.
And I think he had lit up because I don't think he ever thought, for whatever reason, and you could ask him about this to this day, I don't think he ever thought to give the results formula to attorneys to teach people this.
That's amazing.
And I stumbled into it.
Because
and
all he did at that point was coach entrepreneurs
That's right.
and business owners.
That's right.
Yeah.
He had never coached lawyers. He
Yeah.
was just looking for someone to help, to manage, to do the things, to
Amazing.
duplicate. And at that point in time, I went like Neo in the Matrix. I was like, show me more. And because he lit up, I think he really got excited of the possibility of someone wanting to learn the formula. And little by
Because it's
little,
lonely when you're the only one. Like, that's a lonely place.
what I
And
began
he found someone that wanted to
That's
run
right.
with him.
That's right. And what
Yeah.
I began to realize in that moment is that the magician wasn't actually doing magic. It was just a super advanced science. It was a science that I'd never heard of before, right? I'd never seen before. I never heard anybody talk about it. And they definitely didn't teach you in law school. It was an advanced science that's completely duplicatable and teachable to another person. And when he did it that first time, I went, whoa, that's a superpower. Teach me. And in 2009 is where it all began.
You know, if Rob from Bayonne was able to get that, the world could get it. Straight up.
Listen,
Straight up.
It took me
Danny, you got to get the formula.
Yeah, it took 13 years for me to get to where I am, but the distinctions within distinctions,
forget
the
about
the sub niches,
The triple moves.
That's right. It's all there.
Blindfold.
Yep. And it's basically unlimited.
Skywalker style.
That's right. That's right. You're a Jedi Master.
Yoda.
You're a Jedi Master, but only for the light side, of course. You can't force choke or send lightning
Listen,
bolts.
Yoda and Sky, we're not talking about Darth Vader. Wow. So you got excited. He got excited. That began a new thing.
Yeah.
And your life is changing by the day at this point, I'm assuming.
That's right. Because
Becoming a lawyer is now manifesting why you did it.
yeah, and it stopped being about being a lawyer, because he was right. The experience came like this, whether I wanted to or not. Being the right kind of person with that growth mindset, being open to learning, growth, development, wanting to learn the superpower of influence, understanding and appreciating emotionally its power, and then physically using it, right, is what allowed me to absolutely change the trajectory of my life, because I was able in my first year to go toe to toe with attorneys that have been practicing for 10.
Yeah.
By my second year, 15 years. My God, by the third or fourth year, nobody really held any control over me at that point in time, which allowed us to get to the point where I was able to litigate cases, right, in court with judges that handle the most complicated and amazing and super interesting cases and get beautiful results. The first coming where me and Sean created our first top 100 national jury verdict, the fourth largest jury verdict in the state of New Jersey. It was a $33 million jury verdict in a commercial dispute involving kickback schemes. It was outrageous, but it showed, whoa, this influence mastery tool, when used for integrity, can produce any result, even putting you in the elite of elite, a top 100 national jury verdict.
Yeah, let me keep it simple for everybody, because that was fucking powerful. Yeah, I cursed. $33 million, top four. It's number 4. It's ranked number 4 in
New
jury
Jersey.
Verdicts. Underdog, yes.
Underdog, absolutely.
So
walked into the room with a $0 offer.
So
they would
that's-
not offer anything.
So typically that doesn't happen. When you go into a room, there's some kind of offer.
That's right.
And there was no offer.
Zero.
Like there was just straight up, like, we're gonna beat you, we're gonna crush you, you don't
That's
have a
right.
chance. Whatever this was.
That's right. That shows their calculation of our likelihood of success.
Because they have a certain box that they live in with their calculations, like anything else in any other. I talk about this in the insurance industry. It's so antiquated that the reason why 95% fail is because at the end of the day, it's meant for the sales managers and the GAs to maintain the clients. So the mothership gets 6 other product sales, but the person that brought them in 90% of the time ain't going to be there until you teach something else. Like we had the good fortune through this formula to be able to teach here at Epic, and that's once you have a language-based formula and it meets with reps being able to have consistent guaranteed appointments, because they get to make a lot of mistakes, right? And once that's happening every month, and you get better at the formula and you get better at the communication, no different than the guy in 2009. It took a couple of things to get to where in 2022 you would knock it out within 15, 20 minutes, just making that up. But the point is the formula has changed the game. They don't even know it yet in the insurance industry. And it's become one of the most, you couple it with the crone kind of thing, one of the greatest marketing strategies known to mankind, at least in our little small space.
And listen, I will say this. When I came in this morning, one of your guys let me in. Really cool dude. Let me in. I'm not going to mention names.
Yeah.
Let me in. And, he's looking at me. He's like, who is this guy? Right? And I go, oh, my partner is Sean Callagy. And his face lit up. And he goes, Sean changed my life.
Yeah.
And I go, well, how did he change your life? He goes, well, he taught Rob. And I go, all right, keep going. I'm like, I like where the story's going. He goes, I was completely unsuccessful.
I know who it is.
In all of the places that I worked previously. I was like an infantryman, a grunt, and I couldn't make no money.
Yep.
I couldn't get any freedom.
Yep.
I didn't get fulfilled inside my life. I came to work here and I learned the formula from Rob, and it has changed my life. Changed my life. And by the way, Rob was not here. It was just me and this one guy with a dude he doesn't even know.
Yeah.
And he just like lit up and he goes, Sean changed Rob's life. Rob changed my life.
Yeah. It's interesting. I won't mention his name because, but I know who it is. And, he's never made more than, let's say, 30 or 40 grand in a year as a salary guy. That is the example of, it's not, they don't do it on purpose, but the antiquated teachings.
That's right.
Unless you have rich family friends.
Antiquated teachings. He told me that he went, because Rob taught him this. to go from a 16-page script
Oh yeah.
to asking 5 questions with love in his heart for people.
Yeah.
And you got to memorize 16 pages of script,
Which doesn't even sound genuine.
and it's empty, right?
Yeah.
It's not anything. There's no love behind it. There's no compassion. There's
Yeah.
it's just you're moving through people's objections because someone showed you how to manipulate and coerce past
Yes.
them. But without Rob Gill teaching him just 5 questions and showing him how to love and connect with these people and care for them has changed his life.
Yeah.
5 questions.
Yeah, and last week he was part of a save the client's life, created a plan that produced, and I only say this for the purposes of outcome, not an attract. I don't want someone to come here because of the number I'm going to give, but I want to put it to the salary he was at for the last 3 or 4 years. But I think he brought in like $45,000 in revenues.
Wow.
And he was part of that, and the most he's ever made in 1 year is like $30,000.
Wow.
As a salary guy that was brought up in a system that's meant to fail.
That's right.
And then they move people around. So that's amazing that he actually said that. None of it was practiced, none of it was rehearsed. It was just that the folks here who don't have connectivity to Sean directly, he's like a legend and a whisper that's like
quasi-mythological.
Yeah, like I'm the guy that runs this part of the this is my castle. And Rob speaks to Sean like in hallways, in the car, like somewhere at night driving. So like we never see Rob speak to Sean, kind of thing.
That's
you know
right.
what I mean?
Because he doesn't exist. He's the guy behind the curtain,
yeah,
right?
It's pretty funny, man. It's so crazy as I'm sitting here.
People used to call Sean the Wizard of Oz. Because I just remembered that they used to call him the Wizard of Oz because they're like, he doesn't really exist.
Yeah, yeah. So listen, you're now becoming successful in your own right. What is your reputation amongst lawyers as Sean's right-hand man, 13, 14, 15, 16? Like, what is that world looking like?
Yeah.
I'm sure you're achieving financial success as well, getting married or going to get married. So your life is beginning to change. Stuff was going on personally.
Yep.
But what was the reputation of who's Michael Smikun? Who's this guy that's with Sean?
So I remember being in the hallways in court. I'd filed a case against an attorney who was trying to steal cases from us, essentially.
Is that a thing? Does that happen?
It happens.
Is
right?
that like a normal?
Listen, there's the.
I know people are trying to steal cases. I'm just trying to like.
I will say, attorneys by and large, they're good people, but the ones that are the bad apples, they create a horrible reputation for them. And our mission is to fundamentally change the way people feel about lawyers, one client at a time, through a caring, urgency, and aggression.
Listen to that.
The reason why that mission came about is because there's a whole lot of awful out there.
Yeah.
And so here's an example of one of these folks that's out there. And I went to go introduce myself and shake this gentleman's hand, and he refused to shake my hand. And as I'm trying to introduce myself, and he goes, "I know who you are." And I'm like, "Really?" And he goes, "Yeah, you're Sean Callagy's hitman. You're the guy who he sends in to clean up all the messes like the wolf from Pulp Fiction."
Oh, Winston Wolf.
I know. And what this gentleman didn't know is I really like that. I really like that he said that. And more to the point is Sean really liked that as well. But the reality is I think my reputation has morphed substantially because I try to be as reasonable with people as humanly possible.
Sure.
I try to find business solutions to everything, things that benefit everybody in the most optimal way possible.
Yeah.
If I can't do that, then we try to hold people to their agreements. We try to get them to enter into new agreements to make sure that we move forward. And if not, I am a force to reckon with inside of litigation, right? I'm not a warmonger. I don't like to litigate cases unnecessarily. But once we've entered into that arena, that is an area that I'm very familiar with and I feel a lot of comfort in. So a lot of different ways, sometimes negotiating business solutions and contractual solutions are against interest. And in certain ways, going down the path of litigation, that's the easy path for me. It's harder for me to spend more time to produce an optimal result.
Yeah.
And what I'm touched by, in all honesty, is not the successes that I have inside the courtroom, which are substantial.
Yep.
It's my ability to send an email or make 2 telephone calls.
It's resolved.
It's resolved
Yeah.
because of the reputation that we have in litigation.
That's awesome.
And that is the greatest gift that I can give to my clients
That
is
is
a
awesome.
fast and easy resolution to a
awesome.
problem.
Yeah, that's tremendous. I love that. That was well said. And I think that
That's what happened with you, by the way.
with the ring,
That's right.
yeah.
Right? Because if not,
But I was ready,
they're like, who is this guy?
Yeah.
they get to Google me. They take a look at what we've done inside of courts, and they go, "Yeah, this is
let's not.
a real person."
Yeah, that wins, especially against bullies. Anyway, so wow, Mike. So I want to go back to the $33 million jury verdict, top 100, number 4 in New Jersey history. Did that like launch? Were you already like? Was that like a massive boom? Like being part of that? Was that, I know it led to the next one, of course.
So I think it definitely did. But I would say from a psychological perspective, it eliminated any doubt I had in the formula.
Let me play with that. So wait,
Yeah.
I forgot that because I never hear about this case. I always hear about the other one.
Yeah.
So was there like the whole journey of the actual, I'm going to call it a trial.
Yeah.
Is that what it was, a trial?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Was that like ups and downs?
Absolutely.
Or was the momentum there and you just saw it?
So
Because I know the other one, it was like a clean sweep. Like by the last day in the other one, the guy started crying and asking for forgiveness.
yes. So
But this was different.
this was different. I always believe. So we're going to be completely candid.
Sure.
I always believed, but I didn't have the kind of energy and devotion to purpose
Got it.
as Sean did.
Yeah, so what he's saying, folks, listen, the game was going on, and I'm going to call it a game. And as it got from the first quarter to the second, Sean's momentum, I'm just imagining, picked up more and more.
Yes.
And Mike must have been like, holy shit, like this is like incredible. And he probably made such a wild sprint to the end that it was mind-blowing. That's the best way I could describe it in my way of thinking.
And I just said this to Sean on Sunday. Whenever he sets a vision, my immediate thought is, we're going to accomplish that vision, and how do I supply the
bridge,
the troops? Like how do we get from where we are to the vision that was just set? And so I always say to Sean, I was like, listen, Caesar could send his legionnaires ahead, but we got to keep them fed.
Yes.
So
especially in winter.
Yeah, my outcome always was to effectuate vision. So Sean always set aggressive visions.
Yeah.
Knew how far he could push it and what can be achieved, but didn't accept anything less than the highest standard possible, because he knew what he was capable of, he knew what I was capable of, and he was only going to hold me to my highest standard and make sure that he unleashed the best version of myself at that point in time.
Yeah. And going into the final stages of that, was it like, the jury came back in 2 days, 5 days, 3 days? Like what was it like going in?
So
it was your experience.
It was a lengthy trial. It was about 2 weeks long.
And that's long for a trial, correct?
Relatively, yeah.
Got it.
Trials could be like a day long. They could be 2 days long.
We're not talking like OJ trial.
No,
this is different.
No.
Yeah,
and the OJ trial is a crazy outlier. You can't even look at it as an example. There are some cases that'll go 2 months, but 3 days on, 7 days off, or whatever. But this was a relatively long case. And so just going through all of the motion, listen, Sean had a tremendous amount of trust. I've only been a lawyer with him for 5 years. I questioned the first witness in the case.
Did you?
Right? He was like, you're going to do the first witness in the case. And I'm like, that's the crown. Like you're leading out. I'm like, me? And he's like, yeah. He's like, you're ready. You're going to do this.
Yeah.
And listen, he saw something. He saw something that I didn't see. This is going to be a big case. Right? We knew what the numbers were going to be. They were going to be in the multiple tens of millions of dollars. You had 12 jury members there. You had one of the best attorneys in New Jersey at that time. He was slated to be a district court judge, which is a federal judge.
Chalmers?
No.
Oh,
This
the other
is
guy.
the adversary. And he was a no-nonsense, fantastic judge, fantastic attorney that was going to become a judge, right?
Wow.
He was already, I believe, nominated by the president of the United States at the time. And all that was required was to be appointed by Congress. It didn't happen, but not because of his lack of skill. He was one of the best attorneys there. He ended up representing a tremendous amount of celebrities.
So wait, hold on.
Yeah.
You're on the other side.
We're on the other side.
You got Yoda, but are you saying to yourself, I don't know. Like privately, I'm talking about. Like, are you saying like Sean?
This was a very for real attorney, and he ended up winning. He ended up winning some strategic battles
early,
right? Early, in the middle, and towards the end.
So I'm hearing hooks.
Yep.
I'm hearing maybe a stagger.
That's right. Nothing was
I didn't hear anyone get dropped.
No uppercuts, no knockouts, right? But this is a contender, right?
And he seemed to have integrity from what I'm hearing you describe him as.
He was a former associate U.S. attorney, which is a very prestigious position.
Wow.
He's the guy who prosecutes federal criminal cases.
Wow.
Right? These are
I never heard this. I didn't know
top-notch
this.
attorneys.
Yeah.
So nothing was assured going into this. And he was just a tremendous attorney. We walked into it about halfway through the case. He ended up wanting to resolve it and move on.
Is that normal?
That is, it's.
Or is that a sign of I quit?
That's a sign of I quit, you win.
You guys are onto something. Okay.
I quit, you win.
Did you see that coming?
No, I didn't.
Wow.
Because remember, we walked into this case with them
No
offering
offer.
nothing.
Yeah.
Like that's our belief about the strength of your case.
Yeah.
So no, I did not see that coming. But it is a sign of people will say things all the time that they don't really believe.
They should know that.
Right? And I don't mean to call this person out of integrity, but he's got a client to represent. He has his own methodologies of influence and how to do it. And he walked into that room saying, you get nothing, zero, and then said, you beat me so bad I quit. Right?
Wow.
And by the way, it's not him individually, it's the evidence and the client and the case and how it all
Sure.
came together.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, the jury delivered a $24 million jury verdict. And
Was that higher than their offer? Were they offering something? Or?
It was higher by $24 million, right?
Okay, even when he in the middle of it?
Oh, yeah, no.
Yeah.
I can't talk about what that was.
Okay, got it.
But
Okay.
by large,
Got it.
he made the right decision for his client.
Okay.
Right?
Okay, got it.
Our client did remarkably well. He made the right decision for his client.
Got it.
Ultimately. But at the end of the day, they delivered a $24 million compensatory jury verdict.
Wow.
And then tacked on, this was my first experience with it, punitive damages.
Which you later saw in
Which
Arizona.
means that what you did was so malicious, so evil-minded that we're going to punish you for what you did, and the jury punished these people. So from $0 to people quitting in the middle of trial to the jury punishing the
Wow.
other side.
Amazing. Incredible. And what happened after that? Do you guys go out for coffee or something?
So
Do the attorneys get together? Like when
So-
that?
so we
I don't
de-
even know how
by-
to.
and by the way,
first
this-
of all, I can't see Sean going out for coffee, but you know what happened afterwards?
we definitely celebrated, and this is another testament to Sean, just an understanding of what the formula can do.
Yeah.
When the case was over and the case was settled, he left me to argue the punitive damages. And he's like, I know that you're going to clean this up beautifully and perfectly. And listen, I delivered on that promise because he knew what he was going to get, because the formula allows a near duplication of your skill set the more time and energy you poured into it. And Sean poured an unlimited amount of energy into me in the same way that he poured a lot of energy into you to duplicate the skill set that he has given you, which you translate to your own team.
Yeah.
Like the gentleman who confronted me this morning and said, Rob taught me, and I went from 16 pages of script to 5 questions with love and integrity, and it changed my life.
Yeah. We kept it simple.
That's
Yeah,
right.
Amazing. So, like, after you guys won that case, did Sean want to go back to work the next day at 5 a.m, or did you get like a day off?
No, there's no days off.
Yeah. Like you had to go. You had to work on the next day. Like I would wait till like maybe Thursday.
That's right.
Right. I would kind of just hide for a day or two.
No, because
But
what ended up happening.
You can't.
Yep.
In that world.
You can't.
In the Sean world.
But what ended up happening was, as
Yeah.
you know, with Sean, he goes, dude, we're in momentum.
Yes.
We're in momentum.
Don't lose it.
Right? So there's arduous, step 1.
Yeah.
Momentum, step 2, abundance.
So
step 3.
salespeople, when you're building something, is the arduous where you're working 30 hours a day and you're not seeing any money out of it, and then all of a sudden momentum kicks in, it's matching that time that you're putting in, and then all of a sudden you could go work 7-8 hours a day, but just be careful, because then all of a sudden the money would get really, really big, times 10 of the hours that you're putting in. But in that space, if you're not careful, you can go back to where you were 3 years before.
That's right. And so the way Sean used to always explain it to me was, your arduous stage is 10 inputs for every 1 output.
Fair
right?
enough. Yep.
Momentum is 1 input for every 1 output. Yep. And then abundance is 1 input for 10, right?
Yeah.
For 10 output.
Yeah, I love that.
And I remember him simplifying it. So we win the case, and we're like, great, we're going to Disneyland, right? And he's like, no, we're in momentum.
We're going to Paramus.
That's right. We got work to do.
We're going to go to Superior Courthouse.
After we got that jury verdict, I remember meeting up with him at 5 a.m. the next morning to plan and strategize.
Dude, I was totally
the next
making
thing.
that up. I didn't even realize it was the
that
next
was the
day.
thing.
I figured you got 1 day off.
That was it. Listen, Sean was huge about work-life balance.
Yeah.
But when a victim was on the line and results needed to be produced, all bets were off.
Yeah.
All control rods were removed from the nuclear reactor.
Yeah.
All stops were pulled out. Everything's unleashed.
Yeah.
Right? And so we were in momentum.
Yeah.
And he was right. And we began strategizing, planning the other things that we were working on.
Amazing.
And that during that time frame is when we began.
Was that other case already in the pipeline?
Yes.
Okay, got it.
That's what we ended up
Got
working
it,
on.
got it.
And so we strategically began to think about things in slightly different ways after that trial was over.
Yeah.
The spring, right? The coil was unleashed. The
Yeah.
creativity was back, and we began to strategize and plan the next big case, which then ended up in 2016 with our next top jury verdict.
So in 14, that case was already 3 years old, though, correct?
That's right.
Yeah, I'm going to call it the Arizona case.
That's right. That's right.
You get that big verdict.
That's right.
It's like, let's double down on momentum. But those next 10 years were full of treachery, as I understand it.
Absolutely. And
Like chaos, treachery, and at some point, the other case has already been forgotten about. That success at this point is like, you can't even talk about it anymore.
we don't.
Like
yeah.
you don't, if you don't bring that up in what we're doing now, kind of thing.
It's not a thing.
Please don't live on yesterday's success.
That's right.
Because it'll lull you into today's complacency.
Now, what I will say is,
That's what I'm trying to tell people here too.
yeah, celebration.
It's necessary.
Was a big thing.
Yeah.
Right? Because you have to celebrate your wins because you know what you did well.
Yeah.
And then you got to do more of it.
But you can't be celebrating 6 months later.
That's right. And you also have
And
to
not showing
optimize
up.
and innovate, right?
Yeah.
Because if you start resting on your laurels, you're not
Boom.
innovating, you're not moving forward, you're not challenging the things that you didn't
That's
do
right.
perfectly, right? And so it's never about making it worse than it is. It's definitely not about making it better than it is. It's just making what it is. And you can
Yeah.
celebrate the wins and understand and distill the essence of what you did well so you could do more of it. But it's also understanding the things that you didn't do well so you can eliminate them, optimize them, or to the extent they can't be. Yeah.
You listening to you guys back there, you should listen to this. This is he is dropping nuggets, Danny. Yeah, like I can't wait to see the notes you take on this. I'm excited to sit down with you and really coach you and Parker on this one. This is good. You too, Eddie.
I'm glad I could be of service and of value.
So if you could share with everybody, when you are a law firm in New Jersey and you're fighting a case in New Jersey, it has whatever it has. But now all of a sudden you're fighting a case, which would be the biggest one in that state's history, on that turf